All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I am Justin, joined by Jack and Kailen as always. It is Thursday, January 27th. We're rocking with Michigan men's and women's basketball, both rolling right now. Are we? I keep going back and forth. Football school, basketball school. I don't know. It feels like the day of the week. It just depends, you know.
It's basketball season now, so it's we're basketball school. That's my thinking behind it.
It's acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just go, if basketball loses, then if men's basketball loses, we're a women's basketball school. If women's basketball loses, we're a women's gymnastics school. We can just keep going down the line, right?
You fair weather fan. Terrible. Something bad has to happen for it to change. You got to ride it out for your team.
All right. Well, not so much bad is happening right now. So men's, they beat Northwestern in what probably shouldn't have been a barn burner, but it was. They ended up.
Did Sparty beat Northwestern? I don't think they did.
Let me go. Okay, I'm bringing up that. No, they did not. No, they did not. And in fact, after a little research there, they did not beat Northwestern at home too.
That was very well acted. I thought you were pulling off something for a second.
I can tell those squinty eyes. You're looking like me for a second.
I mean, you go back to that Michigan Northwestern game though, and it was like, all right, Michigan had it in hand the whole game, and then was about to throw it all away in the last 8 minutes or so, and then somehow climbs back again, even though Hunter and Musa are both fouled out, and Jaron Falls, of all people, becomes the hero.
Yeah, that was the funny thing when we were because we recorded with Storako a little bit after halftime yesterday, and they were up, I think, by 10 at that point, 10 or 12. And then we go back to finish the game, or like we see the final score, and I'm like, what the hell happened? And you watch it kind of downfall, and they figure it out. But yeah, how about Jaron Falls? Love to see it. Guy working hard. Was he a third or fourth year guy? Getting some significant minutes now?
Yeah, he's still a walk-on. I know that for sure. So he took, obviously COVID affected the roster and affected their rotation, and he's just kind of taking that in stride. So good for him. I think the odd part of that, though, is why is Jaron Falls getting the playing time at the end of that game and not Brandon Johns Jr.? That's the big question for me. And there's a lot of, we can go into it a little bit, but I don't know, basically, is the answer. Why, is it COVID? Is it Johns isn't ready? Because he did play. He has been in, but like, is Jaron Falls jump Brandon Johns in the rotation now?
I mean, I know Johns, it was maybe halfway or about 10 games into the season. Didn't Johns get pulled from his starting lineup? I mean,
yeah,
it's just his inconsistency, man. Yeah. His inconsistency. It's a liability. So I don't say why not try somebody else, see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're just looking for something a little new, and Falls, I mean, whenever I see him out there, he's like playing hard, and he's played against some played against Kofi basically as best he could.
Start was against Kofi Coburn of all people. My God, brutal. I feel bad for him. That's like the definition of thrown into the fire right there, I'd say.
And he survives.
He didn't do bad. But I think when you look back at Brandon Johns' career at Michigan, it's like you're just waiting for him to break out, waiting for him to make that next step. Like, all right, you've got the 3-ball down in the corner. All right, you finally got some handles and you've got some touch around the rim. When are you going to put it all together? And he just hasn't. And this year, definitely, I think Michigan was looking for him to step up as kind of an X factor guy. And he just hasn't. And Moussa Diabate has taken that spot, obviously full time now. But it's really interesting to me to see how that played out. But and maybe it's, once again, we keep saying it, but it's a long season. He could maybe come on, late in the year or something, and there's probably going to be a spot where Michigan needs him, and I hope he can step up for sure.
And that's what I love. I mean, not so much what I love about it, but with Brandon Johns being so inconsistent, have him come off the bench, and if he starts off hot, keep him in, let him roll, and continue him playing well. And if he doesn't, put him back on the bench and let him sit the rest of the game. The thing that sucks about that for him is it seems like he would be on such a short leash, but I feel like that's what you kind of have to do with Johns. Like you kind of know like from the beginning of the game how his game is gonna go.
It's either he's like on or off, right? Either he knows how to handle the ball or he doesn't. And sometimes he just literally like can't catch the ball and can't put it in the basket. So I totally agree. I mean, listen, people are going to be like, oh, you only beat a 9-9 Northwestern team by 2. You had to rally back for it. I will say this until the death of me, and especially on when you're on the road, a win is a win in the Big Ten. People go, there are teams out there that lose, really good teams that lose to really bad teams in the Big Ten. And you saw, I mean, we joked about it with Sparty, but like Sparty's a good team. And when you look at this Northwestern team and you put them against the talent of Michigan State, you're like, there's no way that this team should even be on the same court as them, right? But sometimes it just happens. That's what happens in the Big Ten a lot.
Yeah.
And Northwestern never like quit, right? I mean, they were fighting that whole game. I mean, I don't know what the kid's name was, but he hit some shots.
Boo Booey.
Yeah. He had
Boo Booey.
That's
What
what
an all-time
basketball.
name, all-time Hall of Fame name right there.
Oh God, I'm gonna segue for a second. Hall of Fame. You guys see Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens gonna make it in the Hall of Fame?
Kurt Schilling.
Schilling too.
Yeah, Schilling's like a racist though, isn't he, or something like that?
No,
No, didn't he come out with some stuff?
Yeah, he's
was like
definitely a little odd.
political guy, right, or something.
I think it was more
I don't
politics than just being a straight racist. Yeah,
But like Gary
okay.
Sheffield and like a lot of guys didn't make it in.
yeah, it was.
I mean, but like Barry Bonds, come on. Steroids or not. I mean, that is impressive as hell. And how many guys are in the Hall of Fame that have done right? Steroids saved baseball. Put the man in the Hall of Fame. He's leading home run. Like he was incredible to watch. Like that broke my heart a little bit seeing him.
I feel like it's all political at this point. Like the Hall of Fame is full of like guys who were drunks and used to beat their wife in like 1930. So like put a guy in there who took some steroids.
Yeah, to make the game better for all of us.
This was quite the tangent. We really went for it. I'm
a lot of accusations out there.
Yeah, the allegations that happened in that 30-second span were kind of insane.
Oh man!
All right, let's reel it back a little bit.
Hope nobody fact checks any of this.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's fact checking anything we say, then they'd probably stop listening by now. So
I hope so.
We're probably all right. I did want to do a little preview though of Michigan State coming up on Saturday. This all of a sudden, I think if you asked us, 2 weeks ago, we'd probably be like, Michigan stinks. No, I don't even care about this game. All of a sudden, Michigan State's 1-2 going into this game. Michigan is 3-0 going into this game. It feels like now this is either for Michigan if they win this game, it's like, all right, there's the ceiling is now higher than ever for the rest of the season. And MSU also is now playing for a Big Ten title and that type of stuff. So I think there's a ton on the line for this one.
I feel like I have deja vu. I remember us having the same conversation when Michigan football was headed to East Lansing to play Sparty, and it was like, oh, if they can win that game, I remember being like, if they win that game, they're going undefeated, yada 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 yada. And I'm gonna back that. I'm gonna say that again for Michigan basketball. If they beat Sparty Saturday, I think they have a legitimate shot to win the Big Ten. I won't say go undefeated because it's just a gauntlet, but I think they have a legitimate shot to win the Big Ten.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I think that if they win on Saturday, they definitely it sets a precedent going forward. Win the Big Ten, that's a tall order at this point.
Positive vibes only. Anything can happen.
okay, it could come down to though, the games played, right? So Michigan's only, let's see, in the Big Ten. Where is this? Hold on, I'm pulling it up. They're only one game back, I think, in the loss column.
Right.
So it's like this weird thing.
Like, that's not that much of a hot take.
I don't think it's a hot take. We talked about it on the last podcast. There's 12 games, I think, left in the Big Ten schedule, right? It was something like that. I can't remember exactly what I said, but so I mean, the leader in this conference is 7-2. Michigan's 4-3. So it sounds weird because they haven't played those games, but Michigan's going to have opportunities. And so now all of a sudden the Purdue game is rescheduled. So the canceled game is rescheduled. And my bet is that the MSU game is probably going to get rescheduled as well. So they're going to have opportunities. Now, what that means is that they're going to have 3 games a week for at least 2 of the weeks left in the schedule. So it's going to be, like you said, Kailen, a tall order, but it's definitely possible. I would say I'll say myself, I don't know if they're going to win the Big Ten, but I definitely could see them making a run in the Big Ten tournament, making a run in the tournament. That if they beat Michigan State, I think that it's like they're probably thinking anybody that comes onto our schedule in this last half of the year, we can beat, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Purdue's tough, obviously, with their successes here. Like that'll be that'll be a tough one. But I feel confident going into Sparty, man. I gotta talk shit to my wife. She got football season, any basketball season.
That's true.
Need it.
That's true. I cannot listen to Heather. I cannot listen to any Sparty fans if they were to possibly like sweep Michigan in football and basketball. That would be rough.
Yeah, and for everybody listening, we were talking about going to Frazier's for the Michigan State basketball game. We did that for the football game, and it was like my wife and one other Sparty in there on the whole other side of the fucking bar, and they're just yelling at each other back and forth like fucking go green, da, da, da. And a lot of people were ready to like kill her. And I just don't want to be a part of that situation. So we're gonna head out to Canton to watch this game.
From that situation.
Yeah. Can't let that happen again.
Smart. I mean, I'm excited. Like, I'll be honest, during the Indiana game, Michigan-Indiana game, that was like the first time all year when I was like yelling at the TV, like, let's go, like, let's do this. Like it just felt like this team is actually, they have heart now. I know the Northwestern game was a little bit of like a weird letdown type of a deal, but it feels like they still are kind of, their hearts are into it more than they were in the first part of the year.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of finally hitting their stride. They look comfortable out there. It's a different team than what we saw. I mean, beginning of the year, I thought they looked all right, but, getting into a couple games, we kind of started see them fall apart a little bit, but it looks like they're kind of made their way back.
Hey, gritty, not pretty, right?
Hey, that's a mantra. I love that. The other thing I wanted to talk about too is just kind of matchups with Michigan and Michigan State. I actually think that Michigan matches up well with Michigan State. I don't know, first and foremost, who is going to guard Hunter Dickinson. Hunter has been, you take away the Northwestern game where there was foul trouble, probably the worst officiated game maybe of all time. Big Ten refs are like, I mean, I think that you pulled a random person off the street, they could probably officiate better than Big Ten refs. But outside of that game, Hunter Dickinson has been absolutely killing it. And I just don't see anybody on Michigan State's roster that can play with him. Now, I say that now, and I'm sure, Tom Izzo, obviously we know what kind of coach he is, and he's going to figure it out. But the only way I see them guarding Hunter Dickinson is trying to foul him out. and I can see them putting in Matty Sissoko and trying to just go at him hard early and make sure he's in foul trouble the whole game. But you look at Julius Marble, who's 6'8", 6'9". You look at a Bingham, who is no bigger than a pole, a flagpole, and I just don't know who's going to guard a 7'2" Hunter Dickinson that's playing inside and outside.
You think maybe they'll try to double him?
Yeah, but that's worked in our favor in the past, right?
I mean, it's worked. Yeah, I think especially recently, Hunter getting double teamed, then he finds the open guy, and half the time it's Caleb Houston. He's hot right now. So I don't know. I mean, I knew you said what? Malik Hall.
Malik Hall, yeah.
I was thinking like maybe Joey Hauser a little bit.
They'll
yeah, they don't really have
Marble
like
on
a
him.
Marble.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
Yeah.
Marble. I don't know, man.
It'll definitely be like they're gonna go do like by committee to guard Hunter, but then you think about that. Do you think about that? Like, you also have to guard Musa Diabate, right? Like, it's not like there's a big drop off there between Hunter and Musa. So I think down low, Michigan, in my opinion, has the advantage. Now, when you're talking about at the guard position, I do think MSU has the advantage. Max Christie has been playing really, really, really well. But then you think about Michigan, Devontae Jones in his last 10 games has also been playing really well too.
Dude, he's hot. I saw Swanky put that up today, and I was like, holy shit. Like, I knew he's been playing like better, but I did not realize how much better he was playing. I'm going to try to find these stats real quick. Swanky.
He's definitely been playing well, like noticeably well. Compared to like earlier in the season, I think we were all talking like this guy's a bum. He's not the same as Mike from last year.
Well, the funny thing too is it looks at the first 9 games, and the first few games, I think from my memory, I'm pretty sure he played pretty solidly. So this is more so like his last 6 games have been like pretty bad, but in his last 8, he's averaged almost 12 points a game, shooting over 50% from the field, 46 from 3.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's like the huge one. I'm like, holy shit. So, yeah, I mean, he looks a lot more comfortable right now.
I also wanted – Mitch Ross sent me this, our gambling man from – if you're an OG Blue by 90 listener, you know who that is. Shout out, Mitch. But he sent me this as well. So, player A, 8.4 points per game, 3.9 assists per game, 19.6% turnover rate, 45% field goal percentage, and 43% from 3. Okay. Player B, 9 points a game, 5 assists per game, 19% turnover rate, 41% from the field, and 41% from 3. Player A is Devontae Jones. Player B is Mike Smith. And they're pretty much the same people.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you would have just asked me, hey, how do you feel about Devontae Jones versus Mike Smith? I would have been like, Mike Smith, like, played 10 times better than Devontae Jones, right? But I do think when the thing about Mike Smith, Mike Jones, who? Mike Smith.
Mike Jones. 281-330-8004.
Is that he was playing with 3 NBA players plus Hunter Dickinson, right? So you have to think about that. And you have to think about, like, okay, Devontae Jones, struggled in the first part of the year, and that was a big part of why Michigan struggled as a whole. Now Michigan's been coming on strong. Devontae Jones is the one that's been leading it, right? So, I think things go, they come and they go with Devontae Jones.
Yeah, and I think part of the, criticism against Devontae Jones is, like, I feel like people had a lot of the same expectations for him coming in as they did with Mike Smith. Like, Mike Smith was a big scorer coming from Columbia, and then he turned into more of a facilitator when he got to Michigan. And Devontae kind of stayed that same scoring type.
Yeah.
I think recently he's gotten a little bit better about getting the ball out. But I feel like Mike Smith, he never really forced shots. Like, he got a lot of his scoring just from, like, getting other guys the ball. True. and then he'd be open because whatever that they're going after that guy. And I think Mike Smith was just more consistent. Like he probably had 10 points every game that he played, 4 to 6 assists, something like that. And he did it. He played really, really well all season long. I think it's just there's a sour taste for Devontae Jones, for the previous games, just because we've only had a smaller sample size. I think once the season goes on, people will love that guy.
Yeah,
Mike
if he keeps
Smith
doing what
also
he's doing.
cooler hair.
Great hair, incredible hair.
Incredible hair. So you definitely have to factor that in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean the other guy that we got to talk about is Caleb Houston, just lighting it up lately. That's another guy who, just like Devontae Jones, we're all down on right at the beginning of the year, and he definitely struggled. I think you have to realize that Caleb Houston technically should be a senior in high school. Right, he reclassified and jumped up a year, so I think it's just taken him a little bit to get into it. It's taken a little bit for him to accustom to a Big Ten game, and he's starting as a freshman. So, you hope that everybody that comes in and starts as a freshman is just like unbelievable, but a lot of times that's not going to be the case. But anyways, he's come on strong. Really, really strong for the last 5 games, and it's been a key to Michigan at least on this 3-game win streak for sure.
Yeah, plays a huge part. I mean, especially when you're looking at going up against a team like Sparty, right? We know how good they are. Michigan's going to need to go on a couple runs throughout that game to stay in it and hopefully have a chance to win. And if they can find Caleb Houston open in a corner or, get him the ball at 3-point line, he can get a good shot. That's the guy you're going to want to get the ball to, him and Dickinson down low and, to keep you in the game.
And this game is away, correct? At East Lansing.
East Lansing.
So, you got to get the hot hand going. And, if he can stay hot in a tough environment, I think it'll actually say a lot about him kind of going forward in the season as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the way that Michigan won at Indiana, which was a great environment until they just hit threes right away. They were hot right out of the gate and then quieted the crowd. So if they can do the same against against the Izzone, right, at the Breslin, then all of a sudden it's a different game if you take that crowd out of it. Now, the Breslin's not going away. We all know that. It's a tough place to win, a tough place to play. But I still think that they, it's definitely going to have a factor if Michigan can come out to a hot start, hit some shots right away. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited. So, and the women's basketball team is just balling out again. What's the score at right now? We're
won.
Recording.
They won. The score is 77-58.
77-58. So essentially a 20-point win. It was up to 30 at one point for Michigan over Ohio State in women's basketball. Naz Hillman put the jersey up in the rafters already. She's so good.
So good.
She just broke the record for most rebounds in career history at Michigan.
Wow.
So, yeah, pretty good.
Damn.
Pretty
she's not good. She's just like a physical player. She's not that tall.
No, she's not like 6'8" or something like that. She's just like really skilled and she's physical. Yeah.
That's awesome. Super impressive.
Good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and they're 17 or 18-2 now, I want to say.
Crazy. They're number 7 in the country.
Yeah. And they came out at halftime, I believe, today. So the women's basketball, they do like a NCAA tournament, like pre-bracket type of thing with the top 16 seeds.
Yeah.
And they had Michigan at number 9. So that Michigan would be a 3 seed. So, I mean, a 3 seed in the tournament is the highest by far that Michigan women's basketball has ever been. So
awesome.
Pretty cool for KBA and that squad to be there. And it's going to be fun to watch them down the stretch too.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we got to get some once Michigan basketball beats Sparty on Saturday, we got to get some watch parties for these these basketball games going.
For sure. For sure. So the last thing I wanted to touch on too was big news for Michigan football. And it's not the best news, I would say. Mike Macdonald is reportedly going back to the Ravens. So he was apparently on a 1-year loan to us from John Harbaugh to Jim Harbaugh. I don't really know how to take that, but I think from a consistency standpoint and from the improvement we all saw in Michigan's defense this year, that's definitely a bummer. It's definitely going to be a tough situation for Michigan.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say I expected this to happen, but I think a lot of people probably had some thoughts, like he'll come here for, I think everybody after oh shit, look how good Michigan's defense was. They're like, all right, are we going to be able to keep Macdonald around? Right. So it makes sense he'd go back to the Ravens. I mean, shit, man, I'm just happy we got him here for a year. Well, I have no idea who's going to replace him and, how that defense is going to look. But hopefully, he was able to instill some things in the players that are still around and keep the good play going.
Man, what a power move, right? I'm just going to come to Michigan for a year, show you how to beat Ohio State, and then I'm out.
I love it. I mean, that's great. He'll be the best D coordinator in Michigan history.
He literally only lost 2 games.
Lost 2 games. Incredible.
He Costanza'd it. He George Costanza'd it. He said, "All right, that's it. I'm out. I did the best thing for Michigan's defense in the last 20 years. I'm out."
That's incredible.
So, awesome.
But I do think I think this was the plan. I think there was probably an understanding between John and Jim, hey, take him for a little bit, get him some play calling experience, and then I'm going to take him back. I don't know if the plan was to do it in year one, after year one.
Right.
It was probably keep him for 2 to 3. I'll have my D coordinator do it for the meantime if you're John. But then John's D coordinator shit the bed for the last, I don't know how many weeks of the year for the Ravens. And so John's all right, screw it. Macdonald did everything we needed him to see him do. Come on back, Mike.
Let's just trade. Let's just take Wink Martindale, and you can take Mike Macdonald, and then
it wouldn't be terrible. I mean,
Kailen, did you tweet something out? What was it today? We can just be the minor leagues for the Ravens.
That's what I said.
Why
not,
dude? Why not? That's actually genius.
Brilliant.
You just say this guy needs a little bit of training. We'll just send him to Michigan, and he can get some experience. Oh, he did pretty good. All right, come on back.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah.
If they have a guy that needs time, or if they have a guy that's up and coming, it would be perfect. Actually, this is next level thinking, Kailen. It's very smart.
You got to apply for that position on Indeed.
The analyst,
yeah. I'll be the analyst out here. Yeah, you'll never see me again.
Oh man.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love that. I think you're thinking 5 years ahead of time, because I feel like that is going to happen at some point where some schools become feeder schools to certain NFL teams. Who knows?
Fifth dimensional chess right here.
There you go. The one thing I did want to bring up with that, though, did you guys hear the name that was apparently Jim Harbaugh reached out to for this position?
I saw something could be a joke. I don't know if it's the same person we're thinking of, but Partridge? Chris Partridge? No? Okay. It was definitely a joke then. Who are you talking about?
Oh, that's great, though. I love that.
I kind of want you to keep guessing after that first guess.
I don't know. That was my short list.
That's your short list. All right, there it goes. Larry Foote. So apparently Harbaugh reached out to Larry Foote, which his name did come up before Macdonald after Don Brown. Huh. I don't know. I think that was
is he coaching right now somewhere?
Bucks,
is he? Oh, shit.
Yep. So that would be, in my eyes, a great move.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be incredible.
What do you think it's going to take to get a guy like that? I don't know. I mean, what I guess what's your guys' take then I mean, that is still, a Michigan man, right? So it's like, it fits all those things. But what's your take on trying to hire somebody outside versus maybe promoting from within?
I mean, if you think you have a guy you can promote from within, I say go for it. I mean, that's obviously going to be the easier option, and you don't have to pay him as much. But if you don't think you have that guy, then go try to outside hire. Any means, you got to make sure your defense is looking good and your coordinators, you have the right people. So I mean, if you don't have to go out and get somebody, don't do it. Just hire from within. That's makes the most sense to me. They already understand the culture, all that, yada yada yada. So why spend the money if you don't have to?
Yeah, some of the names I heard from like within was like Steve Klinksdale, right? What he's done with the secondary has been like actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like someone like that, I honestly wouldn't be mad. So I think if you go outside, you do have to get somebody who's like pretty legit and has a really
Mike
good
Macdonald
track record.
type.
Right. And so like Larry Foote, obviously that's like, right at the top of your list. I think another one I heard was Vic Fangio, the former head coach of the Broncos.
Yeah. He was just who he's interviewing though for the head coach of who was it? I can't remember. Head coach of one of the NFL teams.
Okay.
As well. So
Bears?
the Bears just hired some other guy. I can't remember his name now. I don't know. So I don't know. Definitely there's some big names out there that you can go get. I love going, promoting from within just for consistency, right? Like I think, you have a good system now. You've got good recruiters. I kind of wondered if also maybe the Mike Elston hire has anything to do with this. Maybe Mike Elston came knowing, hey, Mike Macdonald's definitely going to be, Jim is not hiring Mike Elston a week and a half ago with no idea that Mike Macdonald might be hired by his brother, right? Like there's obviously conversations happening there. So I wonder if Mike Elston, which it's not been announced by Michigan yet, just so everyone's aware of that. So I wonder if Michigan doesn't come out and announce that Mike Elston is a co-D coordinator with a Steve Klinksdale or something like that. So, I think Jim Harbaugh's still going to reach out to guys like Larry Foote and others, but I wouldn't doubt that they maybe land back at somebody within.
I mean, that would kind of make some sense, right? Like why he left Notre Dame a little bit.
Right.
Because, I mean, he had been there for, a few years at least.
I think it was 10.
Was it 10 years? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that would make a lot of sense then, I guess.
What was he doing at Notre Dame?
D-line coach.
Okay. I mean, so he would have been expected to be the DC there.
Well,
right?
I think that was the whole thing was that so – Brian Kelly leaves and the D coordinator at Notre Dame gets that head coaching job. So I'm betting that he was like, if I don't get this DC job now, like when am I going to get it? Right.
Yeah.
So I bet you that was part of it. And then so that's where my mind's like, all right, does Jim Harbaugh at that time say, hey, I know you want to be the DC at Notre Dame. It doesn't sound like you're going to get that. We can name you co-DC here or give you, an elevated level of responsibilities here at Michigan, too, for that next step.
Do you think there's value in you using that like co-DC because like you can have another guy who's already been there and you don't have to have this huge like schematic change? Because if you think about it, if you were – you could have been a kid who saw Don Brown, then you saw Mike Macdonald, and then you saw some new coach.
That's
right?
True. That's very true. I still have I'm very adamant on consistency being really, really important, especially in college football. I think it's important everywhere, whether it's the NFL for success. If you keep turning things over every 3 to 4 years, like it's really, really hard to have success. But especially in college football, to exactly your point, Kailen, there could be a kid that's a junior at Michigan that has seen Don Brown, or technically they'd be they could be a junior, but they have seen Don Brown, also have a COVID year, also see Mike Macdonald. Now somebody completely different. It's really hard to have success and keep, with all that change going on.
Yeah, need some consistency, especially if you want to beat Ohio State. You gotta have a plan that works. So
yeah, totally. And you gotta have kids bought in, right?
Yep.
Like I think, you think about a defense that did play really well last year and they're under Mike Macdonald. How do you keep those kids, A, from not entering the transfer portal, which is so easy these days, and B, bought into like a new scheme or whatever that scheme is, right? So, it's a thing that's going to happen when you have a solid program and good coaches out there. It's a good thing, in my opinion, when your D coordinator's getting hired to be an NFL D coordinator. That's a good thing. Like, if you're a Michigan fan out there that's pissed because that Mike Macdonald, like we can't keep Mike Macdonald, like it's an NFL D coordinator job, guys. Like it's you literally can't compete with that at the college level.
I guess unless you're like Bill O'Brien, right? You go to Alabama, become the OC.
Yeah, right. Like,
well, not because you wanted to. You got fired.
That's the thing, though. Yeah, this was a step up for Mike Macdonald. Bill O'Brien was doing that because he couldn't make it at that NFL level. So, yeah. Either way, I think Michigan's fine going forward. We're on day 78 of Harbaugh watch, and it's just getting, at one point, like, honestly, at some point here, we're going to be talking spring football. We're to February, right? Like, there's going to be a point where it's like, hey, who's the coach? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird that it's really dragging on this long.
I'm sticking to my crystal ball, 100% returning.
100%. All right.
100%.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first. All right, well, let's move on to our interview with Michigan softball player Alex Storako. So she talks a lot about their upcoming season that's starting here in a few weeks. So excited to hear from her, and then we'll talk about everything we've got going on with her. All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I am Justin, joined by Jack and Kailen as always, and we've got another special guest joining us today, Alex Storako from the Michigan softball team. Alex, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're sitting here. It is January 26th. I don't know. What's the date? What day?
You're right. You got it.
Wednesday.
All right, Wednesday the 26th.
You just wake up from a nap over there?
I just got done working out, and I just
look at this guy.
Casual flex, it's fine.
Is that why you've got the small shirt on?
I got a medium on. Well, ever since we talked to Moody about, and like we were doing all these things in the summer of competitions, I was like, damn, I can't be fat like with a beer gut going into this. But anyways, so Alex, thanks for joining us. So you're a senior now. You've had a few seasons under your belt here at Michigan. So are you like the senior leader now on the team, or because you're the pitcher too? That kind of comes natural, right?
Yeah, pitching is definitely natural leaders for sure, but I'm not the oldest. So we actually, a true senior class, there's 3 of us from that started here and are now finishing it, but we actually have 2 returning 5th years, so Megan Bobian and Taylor Bump. And then joining us is also a grad transfer from UNC, Christina Burkhart, and then a grad transfer from Penn State, Melena Livingston. So quite the big class. My 2 fellow seniors are Hannah Carson and Lexi Blair. Some probably very familiar names for a lot of you guys. So, yeah, very talented senior class. So, good company.
So with Bo being coming back, are you guys like 1A, 1B on the mound?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Who's 1A?
Yeah. That's up for you to decide.
Smart answer.
There's always some competition there, right? But want to make sure. I'm sure it's friendly competition. But you're coming back. Let's go back to last year. If anybody out there that's listening remembers, you guys went to probably the toughest regional in the entire country. I know there was one particular person, maybe the head coach, that was not so happy about it. Carol Hutchins, who's the GOAT, if anyone is wondering out there. I specifically remember her talking about it. I've had some actual conversations behind the scenes too, and she was so pissed that you guys had to fly out all the way to the West Coast, to Washington, to Seattle, play a team that Washington was. They were a top 10 team or top 5 or something like that till the last week of the year, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think they finished second in the Pac-12, and for us, number 1 of the Big Ten to go to second in the Pac-12 all the way out there, the time change, all of it. Like Washington for the last couple of years has just been a solid program. So it wasn't intimidating, but it was definitely a shot to the gut for sure. But I think, we went out there and really just gave it our all and gave what we had. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it was, obviously it's tough to lose that and have that, that's the way to end your year. But, what did you guys take away from that? Was it like, hey, we're going to come back next year and be ready for anything now? Because, let's be honest, Michigan softball has a reputation that you're going to win the Big Ten, or at least compete for it. And then you're going to go out and probably get a good placement into regionals. And you guys kind of got the short end of the stick there. So is there anything that you guys have talked about from a senior class perspective or anything like that, where it's like, hey, we got to be ready for anything now?
Yeah, absolutely. What's talked about a lot, I think, just amongst the team this year is, we get to that regional, but we want to get out of it. Like we want to go to a super. And so that's obviously the next step. But that's a long ways away. Thinking about it, like that's a long ways away. So I think we got 16 days till season. And like Tampa is what we're focused on. And, we're so excited to like finally play someone other than the Big Ten.
Softball aside, I bet you guys are very excited for the warmer weather now too.
Oh, absolutely. We woke up this morning
here recently.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And constant snow and ice. Yeah, I'm tired of it already.
Do you guys get any free time when you're down there to like kind of like hang out and do stuff, or is it like all business of Hutch?
We have some free time and stuff. But usually it's pretty much business, just because it's the first weekend you got to get back into the swing of things of season and like being sore, playing sore, and all that kinds of stuff. Like you're already exhausted from the plane. Like Hutch says, we got to finish our Gatorade bottle of water before we get off the plane. So, we got our things to get in gear and everything. So yeah, it's just the little things that go into traveling to the warmer states and stuff. So yeah.
Now, is there like a transition period kind of when you've already gone down south, the season's kind of starting to pick up, and so you're starting to head back north?
Yeah. I guess it's just coming back and playing home games, and you got a little bit of a tan going on, but the farmer's tan. But just kind of practicing and preparing. We've been in the cold for a lot, and we're in Oosterbaan Fieldhouse for a lot of the winter, preparing for all of that. So just like preparing and using our field house as much as we can is the best we can do with just how the weather is up here. And we're just like, I think the best thing about it, just being able to play out on dirt in the warmer states will help us the best. I think that's the biggest difference. I think a lot of us are just used to playing in the cold at this point. So there's nothing too major and stuff. It's honestly probably the biggest transition is being in Michigan this whole January and beginning of February, and transition and get in shape to play in the heat all day long for 5 games a weekend. The pitcher is actually kind of funny. Pitching coach Jen Brundage, we call her Biggie. She closes all the doors to their pitching building and turns on the heat during our workouts. So we pitch in the heat to get ready for that sun and just the all day exhaustion. So when I came in here my freshman year, I was like, wow, that's quite intense, but it's real. It really helps you, I promise. So yeah, that was interesting, but now it's something like I get excited for, like, oh, like she's keeping the heat on, like that's how close we are.
So is that like, where are you from? Are you from the Midwest or are you from?
I'm from like Chicago suburbs.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, that's like a, not something you're used to training in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So then how do you feel about those like first few home games? It's like early March, anybody who's been to Michigan early March, you see some snow there sometimes. So.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I think it's not too bad. I think majority of our pitching staff, Bobian is from Michigan, so she's used to it. I'm from Chicago suburbs. We have Lauren Durkowski. She's a freshman, also from the Chicago suburbs. And then Emerson Aiken. She's from Virginia. And then Annabelle Wedra is from Alabama. So I think she might have the biggest transition. But a majority of us play in the cold and in the fall and stuff like that. So, just keeping our hands warm is, I think, the biggest part of it with pitching and just staying warm. Like we have like a jacket requirement. I remember my freshman year in a preseason tournament, we went and played at LSU, and I had to take my rain jacket, but was actually it was pretty thick, being LSU heat in the beginning of March, and that was tough having to keep that thing on. So I was sweating, man. But so it's just little things that I think like pitchers and especially have to just keep up with. And we're being from the cold, we're prepared with a lot of long sleeves, jackets, all that types of stuff, gloves, ear warmers, all of it. So
yeah, it's hard to even imagine sweating, and being in heat right now when I'm looking at it and we're in single digits here in Ann Arbor. It's brutally cold right now.
Yeah.
But then again, it's also it's hard to imagine playing in Alumni Field right now too, because it's that cold. But the thing is, unfortunately, when March rolls around, it's not, it'll be in the 30s and 40s maybe, but it's not going to be 75 and sunny. Right. So, yeah, that's just something that you got to deal with. No, that's obviously you knew that coming in when you were coming to Michigan. But let's talk about Alumni Field. I think it's one of the most underrated places to go watch a game, and that's in all of sports. Honestly, if you're listening out there and you haven't been to a softball game at Alumni Field, you should go, because I think there's probably, let's be honest, there's a stigma of women's athletics and environments not being the same as men's and blah blah blah. It is so much fun. The crowd is sold out basically every weekend for you guys.
Every game.
Yeah. And so, from your perspective, what is it like to be able to play in front of that type of crowd?
Well, it's been a while for me. So it's been since my freshman year, which is kind of crazy. This is the last time that I've had a normal season. If we really think about it, my sophomore year, we got cut off because of COVID. And last year it was just our parents in the stands. So hopefully the stands will be a little warmer if we have a little body heat going on and stuff. But so it's been since my freshman year, but I just the electricity that is through that stadium. We have the biggest softball stadium in the Big Ten, I believe. And it's just insane. Just playing in front of that, that's what you dream about as a 12-year-old growing up playing this sport. That's the kind of stadium I want to play in front of. And it's awesome to have the crowd. They're always in it. We have our crowd cheers going on and stuff. And, the last out of the game, they're stomping their feet, making tons of noise. It's amazing. And it's even kind of cooler to, look across the diamond and see baseball, getting their followers and stuff like that. But, we don't sell out, so that's fun. And our games will get done quicker. So sometimes our crowd will head over to baseball. So that's fun. But yeah, no, I love our stadium and I love our atmosphere. It's an awesome place to play in front of.
I mean, like you were saying, Ro, and you, Alex, too. I think softball's right up there with hockey and football with the best environment for U of M. I mean, maybe even better than football. Hockey's tough. Yost, those guys are nuts. But softball is pretty crazy. What we need to do is get a seat in like the top of like the right field bleachers. So if there's a baseball game going on, we can like watch both at the same time. That would be
Oh
fun.
yeah, you'll see the people that'll camp out up there from like when they let fans in. Like, oh yeah, that's the spot that they're gonna sit because they can see like both our game and baseballs. So it's kind of funny to see like people like, kind of camp out over there just to get like a couple spots saved so they can watch both games.
Now, do people tailgate for softball?
Oh, I've tailgated softball games.
From what I've heard, yes.
The
Perfect.
parents
Okay.
the parents do in the parking lot over by the baseball field, definitely.
All right, we'll keep that rolling then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we should definitely do that. That would be, if we got like an actual like big tailgate going, that would be a blast.
Well,
Oh,
that's
yeah, I
the great
heard-
thing too. It's like by the time we're tailgating, you guys are playing home games in what, late March?
Middle of March.
So it's like, it might still be snowing, but still, it'll probably be better than like when it was snowing on us against Ohio State, and then just weather gets better throughout the season.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah,
reverse
I've heard the
football
parents
season.
Right.
are already brainstorming. So
Oh, perfect.
yeah. Oh yeah.
They're ahead of us.
Oh yeah, we'll have to hook up with the Storakos and hang out with them.
Oh yeah. They're a rowdy bunch.
Right there you go. Perfect. Talking about going back to your play, what would you say your strength is? Are you like rise ball all day long? Are you throwing some change ups? What do you got?
See, I go back and forth with my best pitch. Sometimes my rise ball. A lot of people say I'm a rise ball pitcher, but I think my changeup's pretty good too. But I think I can get away with throwing the two of those pitches all day long because of just how well they complement each other, and the speed difference and movement and everything like that. I have a couple more pitches, but I don't rely on those like I do my rise ball and my changeup for sure.
I think that's my biggest fear is if we do ever get the chance to hit off you, you have to promise me you won't throw me a changeup.
Oh,
Because I will make a fool of myself. I might tear an ACL. I'm going to hurt myself if that happens.
Yeah, I can't promise you that. I don't.
I need to sign a liability waiver before that happens.
I imagine this is gonna end with like us like literally carrying you off the field.
Probably, man. Probably.
I mean, I'm just fully. I'm prepared to be so embarrassed that like I'm ready at this point. I'm
Accepting it.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, it's gonna happen. Throw whatever you want.
Wait, how fast are you throwing?
Right now I'm probably throwing like 65, 66.
Oh,
I'd
it's
say.
nothing.
Oof. Okay, Ro.
All right.
We're from 43 feet, by the way.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I know. I've hit off of like a machine at probably high 60s. I didn't do well. I'm telling you, it was like the first 10 pitches. This was also a while ago, but the first 10 pitches I was following off and I just couldn't catch up. Then I got the hang of it, but I'm with Jack. As soon as you throw me off speed, it's over.
Bro's trying to get hit by a pitch. He just said, I hit off a machine. This is fine.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't give myself any chance. But are you a pitcher only, or do you hit too?
I'm a pitcher only now. Yeah.
Now?
I used to hit in high school, but I wouldn't be as good as I am today if I didn't stop hitting in college.
True.
Do they ever let you get any ABs? Like you guys are blowing somebody out and jump in there?
I mean, if we're just like having fun and like Hutch is like front tossing on the field and stuff, like I'll jump in. Like last year I did that and the girls didn't even recognize who I was because we had to wear masks and stuff like that. So I had a mask on and then helmet, batting gloves. I had my old bat and Hutch she threw me one and like you could tell like I think I fouled it off. because this is my first swing in like 2.5 years.
Right.
And I fouled it off. And you could see like the wheels turning in her head, like, oh, like how am I gonna like tell her to fix her swing? She didn't like register who it was at first. And then I took another one. And then she's still kind of like looking at me funny. And then the next one I hit into the grandstands. She goes, "Oh my gosh, Rocco, that's you!" And everyone was like dying laughing. It was really funny because you could just tell, like, she's like, "Oh, how am I gonna correct this girl's swing?" Like she's already like, you can just see her turning. Oh yeah, wanting.
She's like, "Is this like a walk on? Are we doing tryouts today? What's going on here?"
That's what one of the girls thought. They thought that there was a walk on, like, or a girl was like trying out for the team. And I was like, yeah, guys, because I'm like one of the tallest on the team too, and so like walking through the line through BP, I was like hunching over, like not making eye contact, totally trying to blend in. So, oh yeah, it threw a lot of people off.
Oh,
that's
man.
amazing. Have you ever seen the LSU pitcher interview?
That's the one I think of like right away.
The baseball guy where he's like, "Yeah, coach, sorry, I never hit in high school." He walked off
and he didn't come out to like the post-game interviews that the coach realized that it was like, oh my gosh. He's like, really? He like looks down the table and he's like, really? Yeah, I love that interview.
Great interview. Oh, that's got to be you someday. Come on.
Gotta reenact that, yeah.
I hope so. If she calls my name, I'm ready. I'm telling you. I'll try it for sure.
That would be amazing. Now, I think there's also a misconception about Hutch because she is she's very fierce. She's got a fierce look. Some would call it RBF or something like that. But when you get her in the locker room and stuff, she's kind of a teddy bear, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love Hutch. She's amazing. She wants to do so much for the game. And she wants you to be so good that it's like it just gets to her. Like she wants you to be so good. Like she sees so much potential in her players, and it's like she puts her heart and soul into everything, like of just wanting you to be better. But not only as a player, but as like a person. Like she just wants you to be a good person. And I think that's like one of her best qualities as a coach. And like it's so fun playing for her because like your players, like my teammates have passion, we have passion, but like when your coach has passion like that, like it's a lot of fun to play for.
And Bonnie seems like the sweetheart, but Bonnie can lay the hammer down in practice too, right?
She can be intense, yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, one of my funniest stories that I can think of from Bonnie is last year we played at Penn State, and there was a ball fielded or hit to Taylor Bump at third base, and Taylor went to step on 3 and throw 1, and she turned the wrong way. She turned like the longer way and not the shorter way to throw to first. And Bonnie was like sprinting on the field to tell her we got out of the inning with it, but like with a double play, but you turned the wrong way. And it was just like, Bonnie, why are you on the field? Like it's like it was like one of those things where like, how did you get out there so fast? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's totally Bonnie for sure.
Yeah, they definitely like. I think there's a perception of both of them that Bonnie's the sweetheart and Hutch is the hardcore one. But then like if they actually flip roles a lot. I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
I'll tell you what. I remember when Hutch came into Orange Theory for the first time. I was terrified. I was terrified out of my mind. I was like, this lady might eat me. Oh, she loves it. I know. We need her to come back in there. But and then like you talk to her and you meet her and like,
oh yeah,
she's the nicest person in the world.
Yeah, she can talk to you for hours.
Oh yeah. It's the same with. Do you know the women's basketball coach KBA?
KBA. I've never had a full conversation, but she looks like I say one word, she's like, get on the line.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very intimidating woman. But like again, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It's I still though, like I've known Hutch now for 10 years and I'm still very scared of her because I like even though I know she's a teddy bear, I feel like maybe I'm gonna say something wrong like this one time. I don't know. She just gives that look, man, and you just never
It's
know.
like the squinty eye. It's the worst when she like just rips off her sun. She's like, she'll get mad and she'll like rip off her sunglasses, and it's like, oh no,
Like, oh,
what
shit.
did I do?
Well, that's the best though when she does that to an umpire and
Oh,
she goes face to face with an ump. I would not want an umpire in one of your games, to be
No.
honest.
Yeah, it's so funny. She'll like tell our catchers like, hey, like if I'm yelling at you, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at the umpire, but I have to disguise it like I'm yelling at you guys, just so that she can get away with some things. So it's real funny.
Smart move. I like
Yeah.
it.
That is smart. She's been in the game. I think.
A while.
I mean, the couple cool things that people don't know about Hutch. I mean, she is a Sparty. Unfortunately, she went to Michigan State, but she was like BFFs with Magic Johnson. She went to school with Magic Johnson at MSU.
I think I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, she has some stories, I think, about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
So like that is cool. And then if you go back and look at like pictures of Alumni Field when she started, she was actually talking about this. There was like a women's empowerment like panel that she was on a couple months ago, and she started as the like volunteer coach or something for like $5,000 a year. Back in whatever year it was, 30 some years ago. And Alumni Field was literally, it looked like a Little League field. No joke.
Yeah.
It's
the pictures are insane.
It's like two fences, no top on the dugout, and they literally didn't have a fence in the outfield.
And like wooden benches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And like she'll tell you like she'll go out in the middle of practice sometimes and just rake. She goes, oh yeah, I used to do this before practice, or like before games. She would help line the fields and stuff like that. Like just like crazy things. And they were like you were the coach doing this. Like that's kind of crazy. And just to see how much like she has been in the game as it has evolved is just so like crazy to think about. And like they talk about like locker rooms and stuff like that, like our newer building and all that stuff. So it's really cool to think about like how much she's given to the game and how much she's grown with it and expanded it for us is like really cool.
Yeah. I mean, Title IX specifically she was like one of the founding members of Title IX.
Oh yeah.
So that obviously impacts all sports now. So it is, I definitely agree. It is just super cool. What she's been able to do. And I mean, you get to learn from her every day. God, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's really cool because like you said, like she is such a pioneer and all that stuff. And like she'll pull out stories like, oh yeah, like I would like talk to Pat Summitt and stuff like that. And you hear Pat Summitt, everyone knows Pat Summitt. It's like, no, like you hear Carol Hutchins, like everyone knows Carol Hutchins, and like that's my coach. It's really cool to, be a part of like learning from her and everything and just hearing the stories that she has. Like, and like Hutch telling stories is like, it's probably one of the best things ever because it's like Hutch. And then she just pulls this like random story out of nowhere. And you're like, you did that? Like a lot of people don't know, but she's horrible with directions. So like on recruiting stuff, like she'll go out recruiting and like she'll get lost. Like my ever, I remember the first time I had ever seen Hutch in person. I was, I think I was 16 in a travel tournament out in Colorado. And like there was like 4 fields around and like she walked up and you could just see everyone just kind of like stopped what they were doing. Games aren't playing. Like I was playing and everyone just like watched her walk up to the field just because, oh my God, like, oh my gosh, like Carol Hutchins is here. Oh my gosh. And it was so funny. She walks up to our game. And we're like, oh my gosh, Carol Hutchins is at our game. Like that's crazy. She walks up to my mom. I was not committed here at the time. I was uncommitted, like not playing for a very big team. So like no one really knew who I was. And she comes up to my mom and goes, what field is this? My mom's like, oh, like this is like A2 or whatever. And she's like, oh, I was supposed to be at like the B fields or whatever. And my mom's like, oh, those are over there. She was at the completely wrong field, but ended up just like watching our game for a little bit and stuff. So like that's my first ever interaction. And I remember going up to my mom like, oh, like, what did Hutch say to you? She's like, oh, she asked what field she was at. And then she said she was at the wrong one. So apparently she's not recruiting you. And so like that was the running joke for the longest. And it's just really funny just hearing like her little stories from wherever she goes and stuff like that. But it's so cool just like being at like a bigger like event and just like watching people walk. Like watch her walk and just do things. Like she'll go and buy popcorn at a concession. Like people are like, oh my gosh, it's Carol Hutchins buying popcorn.
And she honestly, like, she does not give a shit about anybody else when she could care less about like looking cool or being that person ever.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. It's so funny because it just goes like she's so used to it now. We're like, okay, Hutch, you're a celebrity. Like we tease her about it sometimes, but like it's really funny. So
if she knew directions, maybe she would have never known about you, and you wouldn't be at Michigan.
I actually have a really, really weird recruiting. That's not how she recruited me, actually.
Oh, really?
I was committed to DePaul University in Chicago for about a year, and then I was I decommitted from there for a while and just kind of got back into the recruiting path. And then my junior year of high school, I was uncommitted at the time. And Bonnie Thole is from my area of Chicago, and she has a very big family that are all around the Chicago suburbs. And one of her brothers actually sent an article from the newspaper to her and was like, oh, like this kid, like just decommitted, like maybe you should take a look at her and stuff like that. And so that was kind of it. And I was playing travel over the summer before my senior year, which I wasn't expecting any big school offers just because of how late it was in women's softball at the time. Like you don't get offers from Power Fives like that as a senior, especially as a pitcher too. Usually all schools have their pitchers and catchers and everything. And Bonnie was in Chicago area for a wedding and just decided to just like, well, I guess I'll give this kid a shot. Came and like watched a couple of innings, and Hutch came and watched me in Colorado later that summer. And then 2017 was the fall of my senior year, and I came for a visit against Michigan State. And it was a night game, and we sang Mr. Brightside in the Rain, if that rings any bells for anyone.
Yeah.
And so even before I even went to the football game, we were playing like flag football with some of the girls that on the team and stuff like that outside of the softball stadium. And I pulled Hutch to the side and I was like, yeah, Hutch, like, I think I want to go here. She looked at me, she goes, are you sure? Like, do your parents know you're doing this? Like, you want to talk to them first? And I was like, no, like, I'll tell them later. Like, yeah, I'm coming here. Like, this is me committing. She's like, okay, great. Go tell your parents.
That's awesome.
And so like, and then like I went to the game and like still loved it, obviously, even though we lost. Like it was such a cool atmosphere being in the big house. I mean, singing Mr. Brightside in the Rain was amazing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I ended up committing here, and the rest is history. So yeah, it's kind of like super rare that a pitcher gets an offer like that your senior year of high school.
That's crazy. I mean, it's pretty crazy that I feel like everyone, when you're talking about recruiting, I feel like it's right time, right spot, right time. A lot of in a lot of instances, and it sounds like yours is pretty similar to that. It just kind of works out that way in life. You find your way, right? But
yeah, absolutely. I've even told Hutch like the whole direction story with my mom from when I was 16. She's like, oh, I don't even remember that. I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
That's funny. Well, we're glad that you made it here. So
me too.
there you go. Well, so what did you say? You're 16 days out, right? February 11th, I believe, is your first game down in Tampa. You take on Kansas City, Illinois State, Florida, USF, and Kansas City again. So, what are you guys doing right now to prep for that? Obviously, you're in Oosterbaan. I know, Hutch, if it was like 32.5 degrees, she'd put you guys out on the field, but it's a little too cold for that.
Yeah, a little too cold for them. We still have snow on the field, but we're making the most of our our time in the field house and everything, we're doing live at bats and everything. Pitchers are throwing a live at bats. Our hitters, I think the most that I've noticed since we've started doing our scrimmages and stuff like that is every hitter that I've seen has gotten so much better. They're harder to, pitch against and everything. So I think that's what's really exciting. I mean, also they've seen me live a lot. So especially with COVID and not having to play a lot of other teams. So I guess that's part of it too, but I think our hitters are definitely getting better, and it's really exciting to see how much power, how much depth that we have at literally every position on the field and in the lineup. I think that's what's so exciting about this team. We just have a lot of power everywhere, a lot of grit everywhere for sure.
What are you guys ranked preseason?
Yeah, there's a couple of rankings that have us at 12, and then I think a couple have us at 13. That's okay. Which is like a huge jump. D1 softball just came out with the 12 ranking spot, and even in their little article, they talked about how we were the biggest jump because we finished last year, I think 20th or 22nd. We're usually around 19, 22 is where we're usually sit preseason and throughout the season, but we're at 12, which is really exciting. But a lot more to prove with that for sure.
It's exciting. And I saw you put something up on social where it was what was it, top 50 players in college softball right now? It's you and two others that are on the team?
Yeah.
Right?
So there's a couple of rankings that just came out. Me, Megan Bobian and Lexi Blair are pretty consistent with just top collegiate USA softball. Today just announced the watch list for the Collegiate Player of the Year award that'll come out in I think June-ish. But yeah, me, Megan Bobian, and Lexi Blair are on that watch list. So that's really, really exciting for sure.
That's
very
awesome.
cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's quite the honor. Quite the honor for sure. And you and Bobian just going 1A, 1B, right? That's what we said. But that's
who was ranked higher on the list for the watch list?
Oh,
was it a ranking or was it just top
It went by
50?
last name. It went by last name.
Okay. So Bobian technically.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. All
1A for now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm looking at your guys' schedule. That's your second weekend in Clearwater. Oh my goodness! There's Oklahoma State, UCF, Florida State, LSU, and Michigan. That is a gauntlet of teams.
And it's over a 2-day span. It's a Friday Saturday thing. It's not even 3 days. So
oh my
Jesus, dude!
Talk about a game every day.
Yeah.
What's the most pitches you've thrown in a day?
In
over a span of a doubleheader or just one game? Because if you guys have doubleheaders, do you throw both games, or does Megan throw both games, or do you guys
it just kind of depends. I mean the last couple of years it's been pretty much just me and Bobian, and it's okay, when you're tired, I'm going in. When I'm tired, she's coming in. I just remember, I think it was my sophomore year, our first weekend in Tampa, and it was our Sunday game. And the joke is if we're sore and we're tired, they were oh, this is a Sunday in Tampa, just because it's the first weekend. This is the soreness that we haven't felt in a year, and it's just just the absolute grind. And so it was my sophomore year, and we're playing Fresno State, and we had just beat Florida 11-2, which was huge. And then we had a night game. Bobian threw a complete game against USF, that was a pretty tough game. I want to say it might have went to extras, or it was just really close to the very end. And then I threw the complete game against Florida. And so Fresno State the next day, we're okay, Alex got the start. And I was okay, Bobian, I probably have 4 to 5 innings in me, but I'll let you know. And fourth inning came around, and I was Bobian, you better be ready by next inning. I started the next inning. I started the fifth, walked the first batter, and sure enough, Bobian went in. And I was thank you. You got it the rest of the way, and going into extras. And I just remember Hutch and them being nervous because we had a plane to catch back home. So okay, guys, wrap it up. Let's score one and go home. And I just remember us. Thankfully, we had a little bit later of a flight than Fresno State, because Fresno State went straight on the plane I think in their uniforms. and
Oh
we
my
got to
God.
shower and stuff like that. And so, but yeah, like that, like Sunday in Tampa is a grind, but like Bobian and I are very interchangeable, and we know that, and I think like we worked so well together in the fact that like, okay, like you're feeling a little sore today, like okay, like I'll make sure like I'm ready to go in whenever you need and stuff like that. And I think like we just complement each other on the field so well. You know, I mean, righty lefty obviously, but we throw such different pitches very well. So I think that's what contributes to our success for sure.
I think it's good to. Sorry, go ahead, Kalen.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, you've been really successful. I'm just looking at some of these stats here, and it looks like your ERA for last season was like 1.05, which is just like, as coming from the baseball world, that's like Cy Young level, right? You're like, oh my gosh. But I really wanted to ask you about last year. I mean, I love any chance that we can get, and Road loves this too, any chance to talk about how much we can talk down to MSU. And so I saw you had 22 strikeouts against MSU last year.
Yeah. I set the single game strikeout record that game, which was really, really cool because earlier in the season, Bobby and I both tied it. It was tied with Jenny Ritter held it, I think, from 2005 or 2006 with 19. And I think Bobian's first game, she threw 19 against Purdue, and then later that weekend I threw 19 against Nebraska, I believe it was. So I was like, okay, like it's the three of us, and it was like kind of cool. Like I'm around some pretty like studs, like in company there, like Jenny Ritter, that's insane.
Yeah.
Maggie Bobian, All-American,
all-timer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I remember I didn't even know I had that many after the Michigan State game, and we were getting our post-game meal, and I'm sitting on the curb outside of our bus because we couldn't eat on the bus because of COVID together. So I'm sitting on a curb next to our bus, next to the Michigan State field house, and one of our managers, Sam Thick, comes up to me. She goes, like, hey, like, what's up, record breaker? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like eating my Lay's chips and my ham sandwich. And she's like, no, you just broke the record. Like, broke the record for what? What are you talking about? She goes, you had 22 strikeouts. I'm like, really? Like, are you sure? Like, did you miscount or something? And so that was really cool. But I didn't even realize I had that. It was just like, that was one of the games that I was just like, okay, guys, like, whatever it takes, just scratch one across. And Lexi Blair, sure enough, hit one over. And
yeah, did it go to extras?
It went to 9.
Okay, yeah, because for people doing the math out there, 7 innings, right, and 3 outs, you know. But I remember because it was 0-0, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, crazy game.
1-0 and 9 innings.
Yeah. That's.
And it was like 3 up, 3 down. Like there was no funny business within that 9 innings at all. Like it was a very competitive game for sure. And then I remember later on that week we had to go to Minnesota. So it was like very, very like short time of everything. Yeah. Like we got to be on our game. We're going to Minnesota, where we eventually clinched Big Ten, which was awesome. But like we gotta pick it up.
All right. So you've got the record. I mean, you got to break your own record now, though. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I'm okay with it now. I just want our hitters we just got to explode, and we don't have to worry about that because I can't beat.
It's true.
If we're playing 7 innings, that's only 21 outs. I can't beat 22 strikeouts.
That's true.
You gotta drop third in there every now and again, you know.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Purposefully, you know, don't throw it out that way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on here. You know, we will definitely have you on as we go throughout the season. But, you know, I'm excited because looking at the schedule too, some of these games are on ESPNU, ACC Network, ESPN Plus. So, you know, SEC Network too. And then you'll get into the BTN, of course, when you guys are come back up here for the regular season. But, you know, very exciting to actually be back at Alumni Field with fans and like have a real season for the first time in 2 years. You spring sporters, I feel so bad for, honestly, with everything that's gone down for the last couple of years. Yeah. So, everyone out there, go support all the spring sports, but specifically softball this year. You also can support Alex here at blueby90shop.com. So she's got her own personalized, customized jersey hoodie on our site now. And we're probably going to come out with some other stuff here throughout the softball season. So we're pretty excited about that. But our profits go towards her. So you can definitely fund maybe some grocery trips or something like that. Maybe some shopping trips. I don't know. Go to the mall, Amazon. I don't know. We'll see whatever it is. But thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciated having you on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
Go
And
Blue.
you can follow us at BlueBy90 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Wait, Alex, where can we follow you? We got to say that too.
Oh yeah. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok is just Alex Storako, and then Twitter is AlexSto8.
Alex Stowe 8. All right. And wait, are you like dancing on TikTok, or are we doing like
It's a
funny
little
pranks?
combo of both. I'll have the occasional Hutch appearance, and it's typically me and Audrey dancing or some softball content. The whole shebang.
There you go. Get it all there. Well, thank you. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks for listening, and go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
I've already got a